meditating for a few months. Any meditators here tonight? Awesome. Well, I don't know about you, but I was bullied into it. Seriously, it was as if all the books I was reading ganged up on me at once. You know, all the cool kids are doing it. Fellow Toastmasters and welcome guests, I hated to admit that it was working because I couldn't explain it really. But having come so recently from such a dark, dark place, I was willing to try anything. And to be honest, it was as if I'd been lent a pair of rose-colored glasses and everything before me was suddenly and lustrously illuminated by love. And then I discovered all my newfound spiritual beliefs tucked so masterfully into the 91 minutes of Kung Fu Panda, I just knew it was a sign. You know the line. Yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, but today is a gift. That's why they call it the present. It made me cry so hard, even though I'd heard that line before, but never from a wise, wrinkly old turtle. And I cried a lot in those days. A gentleman helping a little old lady across the street, a Hawaiian rainbow in my rearview mirror, a song on the radio, a quote from a book. But not one tear, ladies and gentlemen, like the torrent that had come before it was shed out of sadness. My gratitude journal, a suggestion from my girl Oprah, teemed with joyful moments. From Anais Nin, and the day came when the risk to remain tight in the bud was greater than the risk it took to blossom. See? How can you not cry? I even found myself crunning one afternoon. I was running, listening to Kelly Clarkson blaring on my iPod. I got to the ocean and it started to rain. Instantly, I was overwhelmed by emotion. It felt like this. I'll spread my wings and I'll learn how to fly. But it probably looked more like this. Do what it takes till I touch the sky. But never losing a single stride. I cried because each day I felt more on purpose, even though I had little clue yet what that purpose was. All I knew is that, like Thoreau, I wanted to go confidently in the direction of my dreams and live the life I imagined. Yes, I was an artist, and I felt most alive doing anything creative, whether that be on stage, entertaining, or writing. But what first? And then what? I'm 30. I'd already tried teaching and waiting tables. Personal training and waiting tables. I even had a corporate gig I hated more than waiting tables. So as I sat in my spot on the beach where I always sat for meditation.
Always sat to meditate. On this day, a curious mantra came to me. How can I serve? How can I serve? How can I serve? Oh, please just tell me what to do. Please, I'll do anything. So I read this book a few years ago, right? It started me in this whole journey of finding my passion. It was Pope Bronson's, discreetly titled, What Should I Do With My Life? In it, I'll never forget the story of the young man living in Manhattan who received in his apartment mailbox a letter revealing to him his destiny. Yeah, I walked away from those pages wishing someone would do that for me. Please, spell it out in all bold so there's no confusion. And make it look fancy, will ya, so I don't recycle it with the junk mail. Oh, right, meditating. Please, tell me what to do. Please, I'll do anything. Then all of a sudden, I heard a voice. It kind of sounded like Deepak Chopra, if you want to know the truth. It said, tell your story. I immediately thought back to the last time I was asked to tell my story. It had been 2 years, but it seemed like a lifetime ago. It was back on the East Coast at my old school. My principal, Barbara, had approached me in the hallway to see if I'd be willing to present at the senior retreat. And I remember thinking, I'd be revealing such vulnerability to my students. But not only was I happy to do so, I was honored. And when I did, I was exhilarated by the overwhelming student response, many of whom later shared with me their own intimate stories. And this is why I'd gotten into teaching in the first place. I naively thought I'd be able to save them from the many mistakes I made, inspire them even like some school teacher superhero. So when this Deepak voice said, "Tell your story," I was like, yes! Why didn't I think of that? Motivational speaker, of course! Go into schools, crack a few jokes, get their attention, then lay it on thick. Scared straight facts. Because I dealt with stuff. I knew stuff. I dealt with divorce and depression and drinking and drugs, sexual identity. I had a friend in high school committed suicide, 2 others who were murdered in gang-related violence, and not to mention I lost my mom when I was 5 to domestic violence tragedy. I have a story. And never had it occurred to me that that story could be of service to others. Real purpose began to pulse through my veins, and I was floored when finally everything made sense. I sat there on the beach that day and cried, thinking about giving my mom a voice and making her proud. I realized then that all I needed was permission. All I needed was permission to tell my story. For those of you out there today who have yet to hear your voice, Deepak's or others, I'm here to be that voice for you. Do us all a favor, please. Tell your story.